Hey guys, today I'm playing again with the Nomad Fuji Five Lakes palette. I need to use it once more before I can give it a proper review, so I will specifically be diving into the blue shades, as you can see, and if you want to see how I did today's look and just chat about Nomad in general, because they're a really fun brand, then stick around. I think today's going to be a pretty quick video. I have a very clear plan in mind using the Fuji Five Lakes palette from Nomad Cosmetics. I've played with this a few times, but I don't recall that I've used the blues, and before I can fully rank or review a palette, I feel like I need to, dip into the majority, if not all of the colors. So my look today is going to be centering around this column right here, and just dipping into the blues and seeing what they bring to the table. I do have a palette pull-in. This is from Unearthly Cosmetics. It's the Sorceress Smoke, and palette pull-in is where I have a palette randomly selected from my collection, and I'm working through consecutive shades, just taking whatever's next and seeing how I can incorporate it into my look. This is my palette pull-in. It's the shade called Ritual, and I'm expecting I'll just throw that on the lower lash line to smoke things out a little bit. I think I'm going to do a little bit of a pop, maybe two bright colorful pops on today's look, aside from that column I showed you. I have already primed my eyes with the Glamlight Icing Primer, and everything I'm using is linked in the description box. Just wanted to dive in. I was really impressed the first time I played with this palette. I'm actually going to grab the shade Yellow Poplar first and lay that down here. This is one of the pops. Oh, Poplar. Pop. Oh, isn't that funny? Anyway, I was really impressed the first time I played with this palette. I can card that video right here for you if you're curious, because it seemed like this is a new formulation, or an improvement in formulation from Nomad's earlier palettes, which were also good. This just felt like better, and I was a fan. Now I'm gonna take Red Rowan and sweep that through the rest of my crease. I'd love to know if you have this palette and if you've been enjoying it, what your thoughts are on the whole, or really if you have anything from Nomad. Do you like the brand? Have you tried them at all? Do you have favorites? What do you like the most from them? Nomad always does such an awesome job with their packaging and their theming. I just think that they're so creative, and it's a pleasure to follow them on Instagram, honestly, because you get to see snapshots of the places they're visiting. They are a destination themed indie brand, so they go to a place and they research it and they find inspiration from it, and they create a palette based on that destination. And then everything about the palette is themed along those lines. And then when you purchase that palette, some of the proceeds from the website sales go to an organization or a charity which supports, in some way, supports that destination. Maybe it's like a wildlife support or Clean River kind of foundation, whatever it might be. And I just think it's such a unique idea, and it's kind of fun because we get to vicariously live through their Instagram feed, seeing where they're touring, like following a family on vacation, except then you get to sort of partake in the vacation yourself in purchasing the palettes, and also getting those colors and inspiration stories and color schemes and stuff fed into your own life with the palette. And furthermore, they also do a fun little crossword guessing game for the next destination when they're about to do a reveal. And that's a lot of fun too, because they'll give you clues and hints, and sometimes often there are clues in the embossings on the pans. I'm just slowly building this color up. It's not that it's not building, it is building. I'm going in lightly because I just want to see how it behaves. Anyway, the embossings on the pans contribute to the clues, and it's a lot of fun. Nomad does a really good job, a really creative job, not only with their theme and the premise of their company, but also the way that they reveal things, the way that they contribute to the community, and things like packaging and color stories and everything. I'm sure I haven't played with the darker blues in this palette, so I'm going to take the shade Fuji Goko, which is the lighter of the two dark blue mattes. And I'm just going to build the outer corner a little bit here. I want to see how these shades build specifically. Now, I have to be honest, the two dark blue mattes in this palette, they're kind of close. One is quite dark and one is more mid-tone, but it leans a little darker, at least in the pan. On the lid, it doesn't. Interesting. It looks, do you see? It looks really different. This one, I think it looks a lot lighter on my lid. What do you think? I mean, I am technically putting it on top of this Red Rowan shade, but that wouldn't make it lighter. If anything, I think that would make it darker. It's performing fine. It's blending fine. Okay, no problems, no patchiness or anything. It's not super duper pigmented. Well, I might be getting a little patchiness. I can't tell. I can't quite tell. I don't think it's patchiness. I think it might be my lighting. I don't have a ring light anymore because my kids broke it, so it's just sunlight. It might be more lighting than patchiness. The shade seems to be fine. It seems to be building on top of the first shade just fine. It is a lot lighter than I thought it was, so I want to deepen this further, and that actually allows me to use the darker of the blue mattes. I was saying though that I don't usually love the undertones of Nomad's mid to dark tone blue mattes. I don't know, that's very specific, but like navy. They tend to go navy from what I remember, and navy is not a blue that I almost ever use. I think it's kind of close to my skin undertones. Like, I think I've got cool blue undertones. I haven't officially had it tested or anything, or assessed rather than tested, I suppose. But anyway, when I wear navy, I feel like it makes me look drab and weary. Not ideal. I think in the past 5 years, I finally landed on, oh wait, that's not the best color on me. Because I used to always buy navy clothes. I would wear navy a lot, and I don't know why. Like, it's never been a really poppy color on me. But for some reason, I had a lot of navy in my wardrobe. And I had a TV interview when I won a competition last year, and I wore navy, and I watched the interview later on. I was thinking, there were so many other colors I could have gone with. The colors that actually showed up and popped on my skin and made me look bright and lively. But instead I looked like a tired secretary who needed a vacation. Okay, so mixing with this Red Rowan shade, I'm getting kind of a dirty mid-tone sort of color. It's not mixing poorly, it's just the undertones. It's fine. But again, even this, what is it? Mount Hoi, the darkest of the blue mattes. I'm going to try a smaller and yet tighter blending brush to see if I can deepen this any more. I just feel like these two blue mattes are not very exciting. They're not very different in undertone or actual color, and they're not very different in depth. I mean, obviously this one is a little darker, but still. It's fine. It's just fine. We're gonna go with just fine. That's where I am right now. As far as shimmers, I want to take Diamond Fuji and start this on my inner lid space and drag it on most of the lid. And then right here, where it's starting to meet the blue mattes, I will pick up Kawaguchiko or Kawaguchiko. Kawaguchiko? I'm sorry. I'm picking that up. Whatever it is, however it's pronounced. The one hazard to a destination themed palette is that words are likely to get mispronounced. Back into a little of the two blue mattes to try to meet this shimmer a little bit more evenly. I don't think I'm getting patchiness. I just don't think that very much is happening over here. I mean, it's certainly building. I can't really complain in terms of there being a flaw in the shadows. And so I don't know if it's undertones that are not setting right with me, or depth that doesn't quite feel right, or just full pigmentation. Maybe they're a little bit more on the sheer side. I do remember swatching this out at the very first time I got it, and I don't necessarily remember there being a lot of problem with pigmentation. I'm not sure. I can't quite put my finger on what is making me feel what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling it. I don't dislike any of this. It's all fine, although I have some fallout here. Okay, I'll deal with the fallout in a minute. on my lower lash line, a few things will happen. Let me start with yellow poplar, just to put that in the very, very inner part of the lower lash line. Now clean off my brush into Mount Fuji, because I do love a popping inner third or so. It just seems to wake up my face. I noticed the other day I have some fine lines forming right under my eye, particularly in the inner part, and I really only notice them when I'm up close and personal to a mirror putting on eyeshadow, and then I go, wait, what's that? Oh. I did notice them on my husband the other day. I was like, oh, you've got some wrinkles showing up under your eyes, and he's like, yep. He's always had the greatest crow's feet when he smiles, that like the laugh lines come all the way over to his hairline, and I love it. Okay, same brush. I have a napkin on my lap. I'm just wiping it off. I'm gonna try to fill this brush with Fuji Goko and see how it performs if I'm really like digging into it. See, that's fine. That's fine. So maybe I wasn't going in enough, or maybe like on the lid space, or maybe I wasn't using the right kind of brush. Like perhaps it wasn't dense enough. That's fine. At this point, I am just gonna grab my palette pull-in, which, as I said, is this cool mid-tone brown shimmer. I don't usually use a shimmer for this, but what the heck. I'm gonna lay this down in my outer corner, just pressing it into the lash line with an angled brush. Because it's so cool toned, it's actually bringing a hint of like a little whisper of purpley-ish, I think. Maybe I'm imagining that, but the way it's combining with the blue feels like it's going a little bit purple. And I think while I'm here, and since I have an angled brush, I'm just gonna turn this into something of a reverse cat eye. It's not very stark because this is not the right brush to apply that kind of shimmer. I mean, I can swatch it and I get something else. You know, this is how I would apply that shimmer. But for the purposes of today's look, we're just being a bit different. This is the look now. It's all finished. I want to say about the shadows performance. As I did the second eye, I did not notice any problems with patchiness or with building or with blending. The only thing I would say on the whole, and particularly with these blue mattes, the dark blue mattes, I think this one's beautiful and this one's very pigmented. It's a lovely pastel, honestly. It's just these two mid-tone leaning and dark blue mattes. I think that they're not as true to pan as they are, at least on my skin tone. I feel like neither one is quite the coloring or pigmentation that I was expecting. I thought that this would be darker. This one ended up looking a little bit more like a mix of the two with a different undertone. And this one too, I wanted this to be even darker so I could really go smoky in the outer corner and have high levels of contrast between the pastels, which were nice, and quite a deep outer corner, but I wasn't really getting that. I mean, I did get it, but not as much as I was hoping for, given what the pan is showing me. Like, this is what I was expecting, and I don't think that it quite lived up to the expectations as far as the depth. The undertones I think are fine. They're not my personal favorite, but they do make sense with the palette, the color story, the theming, the packaging. Yeah, I mean, I think I'll talk more about that when I rank the palette officially, you know, now that I've given it even more time. But on the whole, I think the eye look is really lovely. I want to look at it again. Yeah, I think it's really lovely. It makes me think of Sweden with the blue and yellow. Let me tell you what I did to finish off, and then we'll close out today's video. I have white in my waterline. This is from NYX. I do have some mascara on. I've been wearing the Kaleidos blush in the shade Sanguine. It looks like this. It's super lovely. And on my lips, my sister gave me 2 NYX butter glosses because she knew that it was a formula that it was one of the few lip formulas that I tried out and liked enough to buy a lot of colors. So she sent me 2 colors, which I didn't have. This one is Apple Crisp, and it's actually both of them. When I saw them in the package that she sent me, I was thinking, oh, I don't know that those are going to work for me. But then I tried them on, and Apple Crisp was a lot thinner than I was expecting. And I mean that in a good way, because it wasn't as pigmented as what I was anticipating it would be. And I've been wearing that and I like it. This is actually, I won't say 2 coats, but I applied with one side of the brush and then I flipped the brush over and got the other side. I think I prefer it even more with just one application, or one coat, if you will. The other one that she sent me was Creamsicle, I believe, and I'll use that in a different video. Anyway, I digress. That's the rest of what I'm wearing on my face, and if you want to have direct links, then just check the description box. But I hope that you have enjoyed today's video. I would love to hear your thoughts on the look. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Nomad Fuji Five Lakes palette. Tell me if you have this one, what you think of it, or if you don't have it, what you think of it. Tell me if you have anything from Nomad, what your favorite from the brand is, and what you'd like to see from them, or in particular, any destinations you'd like to see from them. I appreciate you so much for being here. I do have a Nomad playlist, so check the description box if you're curious. I also have a code with Nomad, which is non-affiliated, but it is the code SHIMMERS, and it will save you 10% off your order if you want to use that. Perhaps you'll consider liking and subscribing before you go, and I look forward to sharing another eyeshadow look with you in my next video. So, bye guys, have a great day.